All right, men, welcome to today's episode of Strong Men, Strong Marriages, how to respond to your wife's anger. So, yeah, I think I'm going to do a few episodes here about different emotions your wife might have and a good way to respond to each of those. We're going to try to base this in teachings from Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. Why? Because it's the best way to live, right? And so we're going to just see how those teachings apply to these specific situations. So, my name is Mike Frazier, MD. I help Christian men have more intimate marriages. So, some wins from guys in my program, the Strong Men, Strong Marriages program. Guys are having increasing physical intimacy. Look, when you become a more Christ-like man, when you learn these strengths and skills, right, you come closer, right? Your wife wants to be closer to you. She enjoys spending time with you. So guys are seeing that. Their wives are wanting to spend time with them, cuddle with them, hug them, kiss them, have sex, all that, right? Guys are having fun spending time together again, where a lot of times fun's been missing for a long time with the guys I'm working with. So they're having that fun come back. Guys are having an increased connection with God. And look, like, that's the bottom line. For a relationship to be good with your wife, you want to have other relationships good as well, right? Your relationship with God, you want that to be strong. That's kind of the foundation. Then your relationship with yourself. Again, like if your relationship with yourself isn't strong, you're going to borrow from your wife to feel good about yourself. Then your relationship with your wife, right? And the relationship with your kids. So, relationship with God, that's the foundation. Guys are they're doing less talking about the marriage and more living it. Okay, and so, let's talk about our relationship. They're just living it, having fun with their wives, enjoying time together. A lot of guys I work with, they get focused on, we need to talk about it. We need to talk about the relationship. Not necessarily. Okay, like sometimes you just need to spend time together and enjoy it, right? Build those good connections, good times together. Guys are having an increased sense of peace just in their lives, in their marriage. It's powerful. For me, I had a really cool inspiration this just yesterday on how to respond to my son's kind of rudeness, ignoring me. He does that. Okay, you've heard me kind of struggle with this for a long time if you've been listening for a while. But yeah, I just had this really cool revelation yesterday where it's like, okay, we get in these patterns in marriage, and actually this will relate to today's episode quite a bit, where if in marriage therapy speech, it's like the more is what it's called. So the more, in this case, the more my son ignores me, the more I get angry. Okay. But what happens in that pattern, right? So he ignores me, I get angry, that justifies him being rude because I'm acting in a way that I'm not really proud of. Okay. So what's the solution? Okay, I can't necessarily change his side of that pattern, just like you can't change your wife's side of her pattern. But I can change my side, right? And so the revelation that came to me was like, okay, like the more I'm just going to let him know that's hurtful. Okay, so just sitting there doing nothing, that doesn't really make sense. That's not good. That's not my role as a parent, to just kind of sit there and take abuse, right? It's not really abuse exactly, but to rude behavior, let's say. But it's also not my job to just scream and get mad, which will just perpetuate the cycle. So that was the revelation, just like, hey, just let him know that's hurtful. So I did that last time. It's great, right? I acted how I could be proud of. It gives him the opportunity to see that he's doing something that's a problem, whether he sees that or not, right? That's up to him. So powerful, right? Definitely a revelation from God I'm grateful for. So let's come to this situation, right? Your wife gets upset about something, okay? So the toilet seat. You didn't put the toilet seat down again, right? She's like nagging you about it. You're not cleaning things the right way. Oh, you didn't wipe the counters the right way. Okay. You didn't put things away in the right spot. Okay. You're not listening to me. Okay. She's getting frustrated. She's getting mad at you. Okay. So these are the common responses guys have that are problematic. So one of those is replying with anger back. Okay. So she's like, you didn't put the toilet seat down. Well, I don't want to. You didn't, make the bed. That was your job, right? So replying back with anger. So it's like an eye for an eye, using Sermon on the Mount terminology. Okay. So another way guys will respond is this invalidation triple threat. So your wife's, like you didn't put the toilet seat down, right? I don't like that. It makes me worried I'm going to fall into the toilet, right? And you invalidate that. Well, you shouldn't think that way. It doesn't really matter. It's not a big deal. Okay. Like you should put the toilet seat down yourself, or clean the right way. Well, like there's no real right way to fold a towel. You shouldn't think that way. And like, I'm going to fold it the way I want so you can get used to it. I'm trying to teach you a better way. Okay. So invalidation triple threat is telling her she's wrong for how she's thinking, wrong for how she's feeling, and justifying yourself. Okay. So we've talked about this in previous episodes. Go back and watch that one or listen to that one if you haven't seen it. The other way guys will respond to anger is just a people-pleasing response. Okay. So Another way to think about this is like a trauma response, like a fight or flight or freeze response. So these are like fight. So the people pleasing is like a flight or a fawn, right? Go away from it. Or some guys will just like walk away, right? That's another way you might respond to it. And again, these are like normal ways your nervous system might respond to a difficult, threatening situation. They're just all problematic, right? And the people pleasing response is like, okay, honey, yeah, I'll put toilet seat down, or yeah, like I'll clean it exactly the way you want, or yeah, I'll put things away. But it's not even that doing that is necessarily wrong, right? It's that the intention is wrong. The intention is like, oh, just don't be mad at me, don't be mad at me. Like you're trying to manage her emotions versus trying to be who you want to be. So what ends up happening there is like you shove away what you want, you don't even think about what you want, you don't represent yourself in the marriage, you just kind of hide in the marriage. You avoid conflict, yeah, but at what cost, right? There is a cost to doing that. So what are the consequences of each of these actions? So if you reply back with anger, what happens? Okay, your wife gets more mad, you get more mad, just escalates, right? You both dig into your position more. I like to call this like a tug of war. She's pulling on her side, you need to put the toilet seat down. You're pulling on your side, no, I don't. And you just get more dug into your position and more distance and more anger and just no intimacy, right? No real connection. The invalidation triple threat. Oh, you shouldn't think that way. You shouldn't feel that way. You know, here's why. Here's an article about why it doesn't matter how you fold towels, whatever, right? So what that does is just slow but steady damage to your marriage. You know, it doesn't look like a big fight back and forth. It just looks like her being like, oh, okay, whatever, right? But it's slowly just damaging her. It's like little paper cuts. It's closing her heart a little every time. She feels a little less safe with you every time you do that, okay? So it closes off intimacy because she doesn't feel comfortable sharing herself with you, okay? These disconnection, hurt, yeah, closing her heart versus opening it. The people-pleasing response, right, it kind of seems to maybe work in the moment because there's no like blow up and maybe she's not really hurt in the moment, but you end up getting resentful, right? And you end up having a lack of intimacy because she doesn't really know you. You're not being known in your marriage. You go happy wife, happy life. Then you go into the mosquito cycle because you're like, man, I folded those towels the way you wanted all these times, but you won't ever have sex with me. That's not fair. And then you get frustrated and then you explode or escape, right? And then you feel bad again. You go back to people pleasing, okay? So those are all the patterns I see in guys that cause problems, right? So what you do instead? So this is according to Jesus from the Sermon on the Mount, okay? So 1, turn the other cheek. Okay, what does that mean? In other words, it doesn't mean people please and do whatever your wife wants, right? That's a problematic response. Turn the other cheek really just means return kindness for anger, okay? Why? Why does Jesus recommend that, okay? What happens in real life when you do that? Okay, what happens in real life, your wife goes, I can't believe you left the toilet seat down again. You're like, hey, you know what? I'm sorry, I can see you're upset. You know, that wasn't, yeah, like I could do that for you. I'm good to do that for you. So you return kindness for anger, what happens? Okay. First of all, you feel calmer, right? You're proud of how you acted, but also, you know, it gives your wife the chance to actually reflect and say, oh, like maybe that was an overreaction. But if you respond back in anger, it doesn't give her that chance. Kind of like with my son, right? If I'm always responding with anger to him, it doesn't give them a chance to reflect and say, like maybe it is rude for me to act that way. Okay. Again, he might or might not see that, but it gives him the opportunity to see it. So same with your wife, right? When you return kindness for anger, it gives her the chance to reflect on her own motives, okay, and behaviors, okay? That's why Jesus recommends it, okay, because it works. Well, you know, this book I'm reading, The Divine Conspiracy, I'm loving it, right? I'm loving it. It's just, Jesus' way of life is just the best way to live, period, right? And if you want to figure it out, try it out, test it, right? That's what I'm trying to teach in the program. I'm sure I don't do it perfectly, but we're trying, right? We're trying to teach you how to have relationships, how Jesus would like you to. Okay, so another example from the Sermon on the Mount, go the extra mile, okay? So what this might look like is your wife's like, hey, could you put the toilet seat down? And you're like, yeah, I can put the toilet seat down. Why don't I just like make sure I wipe up any mess I make too, right? That's the extra mile. Okay, what's good about that? And how's that different from people pleasing? It's different from people pleasing because of your motivation, right? You're just like, hey, I love my wife. I want to do this for her. This is something important to her. Great, I'm going to make it important to me. You know, that's a heart of service. That's a heart of love. What happens then, right? Now your wife's like, man, my husband's amazing. He actually cares, right? Her heart opens, and now you've got more connection, more intimacy, okay? So you're choosing to do it because you want to serve her, not because you're trying to avoid anger or manipulate her emotions, right? You're just trying to do it as a way to say, hey, I care about you. And that opens her heart up, right? The other thing is actually to be willing to say no. So Jesus also says in the Sermon on the Mount, let your communication be just yes or no, right? So if you're like, hey, you know what, I can't do that. I can't fold the towels that way. I'm just not willing to do that. Okay, that's better than doing it and hating it, right? Why? Because you avoid resentment, you set clear boundaries, and you're being more intimate, right? You're showing what's actually going on, right? So the exact right thing to do depends on your situation, and really the whole thing is just, where's your heart at? What are your intentions? Where's your heart? Okay. So if your heart's in a place of love, you're in a great spot, right? What that looks like moment to moment, situation to situation depends. Okay. So again, like Jesus, it's about what works in real life. So for sure, you're going to need to be like praying for a kingdom heart. That's the terminology from this book. Like having that heart that really desires the good of everybody around him. So when you really desire the good of your son or your wife or your coworker or your client, right? Yeah, that's going to look different. So like with my son, right, it's important for me to tell him, hey, like that behavior is not appropriate, right? With my wife, she kind of knows that already. If she is acting inappropriate, she'll probably apologize later, and some more just kind of being kind. But again, like moment to moment, it matters, right? It's just where your heart is, being open to that communication from God for what to do. Okay. So, but like you also need to have some things to draw from, some tools to draw from, some strategies to draw from to kind of help you, right? And that's what we will help teach you in Strong Men, Strong Marriages. So come join us, right? You're going to learn how to connect with God each day, see how his teachings work in marriage and all relationships. Again, with God first, then with yourself. Okay, that's important. That's the next important one. Then with your wife, then with your kids, then with all the rest of the world, right? That's what we want. Great relationships, loving relationships. Yeah, like Jesus says, eternal life is to know God at that deep level. And when we do that, like we become loving to the people around us. And what's more important than your relationship with yourself, your wife, and your kids? So we're going to teach you how to build spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, and sexual strength. We're going to teach you how to build your communication and intimacy skills. Okay, so you have just a way and a specific formula and something that's worked. Why does it work? It's based on Christian principles to create great relationships for the rest of your life. Really like kingdom relationships, like heaven on earth. That's what we're trying to create. So come join us. Visit strongmen.io. Join the email list. Our program opens once a month. So you come in as a group. You can join with other men, kind of be in it together, get some accountability partners, that kind of thing. Or if you want to be more private, which a lot of guys do, which is fine, be as anonymous as you want. That's fine too. So come in, come join us. We want you to have great relationships for the rest of your life. And we'd love to help you learn how to do that and be part of that. So visit strongmen.io, join the email list. We will let you know at the end of the month when it opens so you can join us. All right, men, stay strong. We will see you next episode.